The first thing is to mobilize farmers, take them back to the farming, and to do that, we have to have these inputs. But inputs, I told you, is the problem because farmers are not having money. This is a problem.
Coffee was introduced in Kenya by the British because Kenya was a British colony. This was in the 1900s. They started growing the coffee in Taita. It didn't do very well, and they moved on and introduced it to the central highlands of Kenya. That is the area around Mount Kenya. This has been the main coffee production area. The other major is to the west, around Mount Elgon. And there are also some plantations in the Rift Valley, in areas around Nakuru, as well as the Kip Canyon. Kenya has been one of the famous producers in terms of quality and has been very well known for the specialty coffees. Most of the coffee is grown by the small-scale farmers, contributing about 60%, while 40% of the coffee has been produced by the large estates. The cooperatives have a system where the smallholders have probably 100 trees each farmer, 200, 500, 1,000 trees. They don't process the coffee, but they pick the red cherry and take it to a central pulping station, which in Kenya is referred to as a coffee factory. And the coffee is pulped and done the full wet processing at that particular unit. Once the coffee is ready, it's taken to the dry mill for milling to get the green coffee beans.
Smallholder farmers, they're very independent. They try to be as much of independent, but they actually depend on a factory, which depends on a society, which depends on it's really a really opaque system, and it's really hard to know who gets what. So when you have a coffee and you say, oh, this coffee from this factory is absolutely amazing, and you just ask the people who buy this coffee, do you know how many farmers work on it? Oh, it was 1,000 smallholder. Very often it's 1,000 up to 3,000 smallholders.
The main activity that can give them money to educate their children, to pay for hospital bills, and also maybe give them a decent livelihood. It is only coffee.
The farmers, they don't get enough or good payments from the coffee. They opt to grow other crops. Some of them will just cut the trees. They will leave the coffee tree stand there and continue growing maize and beans and other foods. And because they say they can be able to eat the bananas or they can be able to eat the maize, but they're not getting enough from the tree.
Those sent to auction in Nairobi, the sellers of the coffee, they talk it together and they destroy the industry. So they control the price, they are the buyers, they are the marketers. So a farmer have no say.
Initially, you could only market the coffee through the coffee auction, but come the year 2000, and from about 2003, 2005, the policy on the coffee marketing was changed, and the cooperative farmers were given leeway to also look for markets and market their coffee.
Those farmers really depend on the factory because They do not have any money to buy a grower seller license, which is $100. So we say, oh, it's very cheap. It's just $100. But $100, 10,000 Kenyan shilling, it's 2 years in school for a child. So say, okay, getting a license or send my child to school. I prefer to send my child to school. And now I'm going to the factory. So it's very hard. And they are the one who needs more help, and they are the ones that no one wants to help. When you see the manager of the factory is this man who is 60-something, the people say, no, you can't retire. You have to carry on working because your children don't want to take over the job.
Young generation are running away from coffee. Why? Because of the low prices. They do not grow the coffee by themselves. So what they can do is go and buy. And when a farmer goes to the shop, if he or she finds that it is very expensive, so he prefers tea.
We have had several challenges that have contributed now to the decrease in our production from a high of 130,000 metric tons to about 40,000 metric tons, which is just about 1/3 of what we used to produce in the 80s.
The major problems here is leaf rust and CBD. These are the major problems. Can lose 90% of the crop. The loss is to the producer. Nobody cares.
For the farmers, say like CBD, you find that the coffee does very good flowering. It produces a lot of these pinheads, but then the CBD comes in, and the whole crop is just about wiped out.
About many years back, we used to store farm input and chemicals in our stores here. During that time, we were harvesting from 500 to a million kilograms of coffee. Nowadays, maybe we are harvesting that percent of the farm.
Our standard of coffee depends on the chemicals that we don't afford to buy because we don't have them in the stores. Such that when you see your coffee is being affected by any disease, coffee disease, you can go somewhere and take the chemical you require. But now, as we speak, we can't be able.
The problem we meet is that our farmers are not able to feed the trays the way it is required. Why? Because they are in short of finance to be able to buy fertilizers and chemicals.
The massive production and the massive use of fertilizers that really impoverish the soils, that is really is a big challenge here.
We've been encouraging our farmers to plant new varieties like Loiro and Batian, which are not affected by CBD.
If the farmers were to change their coffee trees, then it will be easier for them to change their production from what we have been producing in the past to probably organic.
If they are given examples, it will be possible for them to buy the idea. And also the other issue would be the market.
We think the future of coffee will depend on those who will be working on organic. Because it's food, it's consumed by human beings, and nobody would like to take poison.
Certifications have their own advantages, and we find that those co-ops that are certified, you find that the farmers and the management are more aware of the coffee business that they're involved in, and they are more informed than those who are not certified.
When we get premiums from fair trade, you've been setting some money aside so that we can improve our drying facilities. We have been able to construct 2 drying tables using the premium funds.
Now, while certification is a good thing, on the other hand, it costs. And say, for example, like where the certification will also come with a premium, but it's a premium that can only go to the co-op, but does not reach the farmer.
You know what makes them better or think coffee is good? It is the way we are going. From the time I was erected in this factory, our prices have been continuously rising up, not going down. So it is encouraging. What we are doing is encouraging to the farmers and even to the youth. So they can say there is a future in what we are doing.